And former senior official at the Department of Homeland Security, James Norton, joining us now live from Washington. Hello to you, James. Always good to see you. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Where are we going with this?
Thank you for having me.
Where are we going with this, do you think?
Well, you know, I think that the storm clouds from the Russia investigation still continue to hang over the Trump administration. You know, I think the reality is in Washington, there really is no quick fix, especially when it comes to an investigation that now is being held in the Senate and the House and Director Mueller. And so, you know, I think that, you know, President Trump last week, did a reset in his press office. There continue to, rumors today about other people from the press office leaving. I think, he seems to be having some issues with whether or not he wants to keep Attorney General Sessions as another potential reset in his cabinet. So I think, there is some real political turbulence that's occurring right now. And so I think, it's going to be really important here for the administration to try to reset itself over the next, couple of weeks, as we head into the fall.
How successfully is it doing that at the moment? We had a contributor on the programme earlier on today. He says, impeached or out by next spring.
I think it's too early to necessarily make a prediction on that, but I will say that, if the president wants to be successful and have legislative accomplishments and have a number of items that he can look back on in terms of being a successful presidency, I think now's the time to, have those legislative accomplishments happen. I think that, the political chaos that's, seems to be surrounding the White House and the lack of a strategy to deal with this Russia investigation continues to dog the administration. So I think that's something that really needs to be reset in the next couple of weeks, if in fact they are able to, have any accomplishments here in the near future, especially going into the midterm elections, which, have into Democrat hands.
Okay, what do you think is going to happen as far as Jeff Sessions is concerned? We're being told by the AFP news agency, announcement expected shortly.
Anybody who serves in any presidential administration certainly serves at the pleasure of the president. There's a little bit of irony here that Jeff Sessions was really the first senator and for a while the only U.S. senator that had endorsed Donald Trump early on in the campaign. He was really the first one to put a Make America Great Again hat on at a campaign rally and kind of throw his arms around him and provide that conservative support that he needed, in the primary. So, I think the fact that he may or may not survive as Attorney General is a pretty big deal when it comes to political stability within the White House and within Washington. And so I think if, in fact, he does leave, whether it's his choice or he's terminated by the president, I think that a really rocky road ahead. I mean, it's not like you can just get another Attorney General confirmed right away, especially not with the current state with the investigation. So I think it'll be very troubling if, in fact, he doesn't survive.
And what about Jared Kushner?
I think that, certainly Jared Kushner is, he's up obviously testifying today, behind closed doors. I think this will be the first of many testimonies he'll probably have to do. We haven't even seen Director Mueller's plans yet in terms of how he wants to investigate and interview potential witnesses for the Russia investigation. So I think as long as he's, a member of the White House, senior White House official, he'll continue to be, in the spotlight as well as, other former campaign officials. So I think that's also going to be a potential decision in terms of, what are the longer-term strategies for having some of these folks kind of in these high-profile positions, dealing with CEOs, dealing with public policy issues. It may be a case where there's either a different role or, he doesn't serve much longer, or they continue to just, keep their foot on the gas and keep with the current strategy.
While we're on the subject, what do you think is happening as far as Hillary Clinton is concerned? Is she just sitting back and taking it all in?
I think that, President Trump, certainly continues to be the chief spokesman for his own administration. I think we've seen his Twitter feed now, every day and night as we continue to go along. So I think, he's had the same strategy as far as, his campaign and now trying to run his administration. But, that's not always as successful. I think one thing to note today is that the House is voting on the Russia sanctions bill. So really, his own party is essentially taking foreign policy in their own hands and saying, we're going to have a tougher stance when it comes to North Korea, when it comes to Russia, when it comes to Iran. And so that's a pretty big moment in itself. I know everybody's talking about Jared Kushner today, but the fact is that for both parties and really a majority of Republicans to support this, I think really is another signal that the White House is in a little bit of trouble politically.